This is the Goodwill Bins. Today, Goodwill is giving me, yours truly, a behind-the-scenes, private, exclusive tour of this whole operation. The person giving me the tour is an executive of Goodwill Alberta, and he has agreed to answer the questions that you and I really want to know about the Goodwill operation.
I know a lot of people have questions as to where the items come from.
Yes, it's one of those rumors that's all over the internet and social media.
It doesn't matter if you have a disability
rumors. There's not people working here for free or, like exploiting workers or anything like that.
That's true.
I'm all good to go. Got my safety vest, got my closed-toed shoes. We're gonna see what's going on behind the double doors. I'm thrilled to be joined by an executive from Goodwill Alberta, and I will let him introduce himself.
Yeah, so my name is Doug Roxborough. I'm the Director of Brand Integrity with Goodwill Industries of Alberta. I've actually been with Goodwill for almost 7 years now. Based out of Edmonton, came down to Calgary because you guys wanted a tour. So I thought I'd give you guys a tour of the amazing Calgary Impact Center, which has been here for about 2.5 years now. And I can actually give you any answer that you want to know.
Okay.
We're not for profit, so a lot of our information is already out there in the public.
Right. And you know what? Let's just jump right into that. What does not for profit actually mean? Because that's one of the questions that I see, or one of the things I see people talking about online, is actually questioning the non-profit status of Goodwill.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Goodwill, as you know, is an international brand name. However, while it being international, Goodwill Industries of Alberta is an Alberta-run organization. We've actually been in Alberta since 1963. We took over the Edmonton Rehabilitation Society. Every Goodwill operates independently, so our mission is to support people with disabilities to find meaningful employment. Whereas another Goodwill, and I always use the two most extreme examples, Goodwill Niagara Falls in Ontario, they support seniors housing.
Okay.
Goodwill in Washington, D.C., they support veterans going back into the workforce. So each district of Goodwill has their own purpose.
Okay, so I guess all you viewers, depending where you're watching me from, many of you in the U.S. and around the world, you can do some research yourself to know what the mission is for your local Goodwill.
Ideally, we'd like to be right across Alberta in Medicine Hat, Lethbridge. We're just not there yet, mainly because our organization operates around the hubs, so Calgary and Edmonton. We do have a store in Grand Prairie, but that basically is an arm of the Edmonton region.
Okay.
And it's all based around this amazing facility at the Impact Centers. The reason being is because some of it, which we can see, is we have storage for Halloween, Christmas, so specific seasonality items.
And you all love to shop the holiday items at Goodwill, don't lie.
And then not only that is our recycling initiatives. So because of these impact centers, they've actually been mimicked across North America. The bins, that was a Goodwill International prerogative where we shop by the pound. However, all the recycling initiatives you've seen started right here in Alberta.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
So this is the Goodwill bins area. This is where you actually get to shop by the pound. I know a lot of people have questions as to where the items come from.
Yes.
Yeah, so the items actually come from our store. So the items are all donated to our donation centers right across the city. We have a number of donation centers, and the reason being we have donation centers is that we want to make it convenient for people to donate.
That's what I was going to ask, is I've seen these newer, I think they're newer,
They are.
just donation centers which are not attached to a retail store.
That's correct.
So the purpose is...
So it does two things. It makes it more convenient for people, and they are also providing employment opportunities for people.
Okay.
So one of the feedback items that we keep getting year after year after year is convenience. How do we make it convenient for people to donate?
So they don't have to drive across town.
That's right. So that's why we introduced the donation centers. We don't have a pickup service like other organizations do. There's a couple of things that go into it: liability, insurance, and we're just not based that way. That's why we have donation centers. Again, it's to provide those employment opportunities.
We are here behind the double doors. This is what you all have never seen before. The Goodwill bins behind the scenes. So walk us through what we're going to see today.
Yeah, so we saw the bins kind of go out onto the sales floor. You can actually see these giant cardboard boxes right over here. These are actually pre-sorted items coming from our retail stores. So what they do at our retail stores is they sort all the items into their specific category into these giant cardboard boxes. These cardboard boxes then get put into this magnificent machine right here. It's called a tipper. And what this tipper does is it tips the items,
Like these big boxes,
into the bins. The bins then are ready to go out on the sales floor. So you can actually see these are textiles that are going onto the sales floor. They'll be on the sales floor for about 35 minutes, give or take, and then they come back and will go into their recycling streams.
So you're seeing it happen live, nothing staged. This is real life Goodwill bins.
The items that you see at the bins here, they are already in our stores. They're in our stores for about 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay, that was what I was gonna ask.
Yes.
How long do they sit on the shelf, and then what happens?
So they're in our stores for about 4 to 5 weeks,
Okay.
and then from our stores, then they get sent here to the outlet store to have a last chance to sell. The best way to recycle an item is to repurpose it. So that's why we have this option where you can buy it by the pound. So, you know, sometimes we get questions on prices and stuff like that with our retail stores.
Oh, that's coming.
Yeah, so, you know, those items actually get marked down actually 2 or 3 times,
Okay.
and then they get put on sale for about 50% off.
So, you know, another thing that I think people think is that there's employees back here who are like, oh, hand picking out, like cherry picking items that don't make it onto the floor.
No,
Based on what I just saw, I don't think that's happening.
no, it's not the case. Again, we have thousands of items that are coming through these boxes, and it's just not the case.
Right.
We've also seen the rumors where they say we're selling it online.
Right.
We actually don't sell anything
In Alberta,
online.
you're
in
not.
Alberta.
Okay.
We don't. Now, I can't speak for other Goodwills, but we don't sell anything online except for our repurposed furniture, which I'll show you in the
Okay.
back. We don't have the time for that.
Yeah, okay.
So you can actually see them. They're actually just maneuvering it just to make it even.
Yeah.
Again, it's just making it a good shopping experience. And you can actually see, so those bins were dumped and they're going right onto the sales floor.
Oh, yeah.
Once an item has been on the sales floor, it then comes back through. Basically, not every item's gonna sell. It's just not the case. Not every item is wanted by another household. So you can actually see a couple of bins here. These have already been on the sales floor. Now we have someone who's actually sorting through the items, and they're sorting it into its specific category. We have categories for teddy bears. We have categories for shoes. Pairs of shoes, single shoes. Work boots, single work boots. Pots and pans, wicker baskets. You name it, there's a category for it. Styrofoam. The reason being is because we have partners that will recycle these items responsibly. So I always use teddy bears. Honestly, my favorite example. Teddy bears, actually, we have a partner where they get shredded and use as insulation for housing.
This guy, is he going in the teddy bear?
He will go in the teddy bear. So again, he'll get shredded and used for insulation for housing. We have dealers that work with single shoes specifically, and the reason being is because they'll take the rubber off the soles and recycle the rubber.
Okay.
We were actually just recognized yesterday. This just happened
No way.
yesterday. Quantum Life Cycle, they recycle our electronics.
Okay.
They just recently gave us an award for all of our electronic waste recycling. So what we do is we actually cut the ends off the wires and send them so they can actually repurpose the wires.
So really disassembling things that can't be done, resold or done.
Correct.
Okay. Into their like elements or components.
Correct.
Okay.
And all of our dealers are actually based out of Alberta. They're based out of Ontario and British Columbia. Majority being Alberta. We take plastics, so little toys, or Tupperware. So this would classify as plastic. We actually shred these plastics at our facilities here.
Here.
They create little tiny plastic flakes. We ship the flakes off to these 2 facilities, and they make planters for gardens. They make plastic benches. They make coasters, all out of plastic material.
So when you think that all this stuff just ends up in a landfill, you're now learning otherwise. It is being broken down and reused, repurposed, refashioned into something else whenever possible.
That's correct.
Okay.
We try our best to repurpose everything. That's just, we don't want more waste in our landfills. Sometimes we can't avoid it.
sometimes we just get garbage and things that we can't recycle, or
actual trash,
or it's too expensive to recycle. That means it's actually costing our organization money.
Right.
Mattresses, by far the worst, for example.
Do not donate mattresses.
And the reason being is you can't really recycle it responsibly, and if you do, you have to ship it all the way to Vancouver, and it's costing our organization dollars.
You're like losing extra money.
Which goes towards our mission.
Right.
At the end of the day, we're losing money to go back to our mission programs, which again, you'll see more of the mission programs as we go.
Okay.
A lot of it has to do with our director. We have a director of sustainability.
Okay.
His name is Mortimer Capilius. He's originally from Venezuela, but he's also worked at the Fairmont Lake Louise.
Okay.
And
high-end hotel.
Yeah, but he's also set up a lot of these partnerships for us to actually work with responsible recyclers.
Right. Cool. So can you even believe how much stuff didn't sell? And that's one bin. You saw how many bins are out there. And then check out the pallets, the bales. This is, again, just a question. I've seen in some of the bins where they have different prices for different things, pound prices, or 10 bucks for $1. So is that again just because it varies by region?
It varies by region. We actually used to have a pricing system like that here at Goodwill. We do books, we do furniture, we do hard
furniture
goods.
obviously is
now
separately
furniture
priced.
is priced separately, right? Obviously because you have a chair that weighs like 500 pounds. So what we did was we just introduced one price right across the board.
So I'm gonna say people work really hard here. These are very skilled people who are doing like important work, sorting all this stuff so that it ends up in the right place.
Yeah, and not only that, we have close to 100 people that work at this facility alone. Honestly, close to 50% of the people that work in this facility do have self-disclosed disability on top of it.
All right.
A lot of it has to do with some of the remedial tasks and their capabilities. But we pride ourselves in not only diverting from landfills, which we divert probably close to 90% of all items that get donated to Goodwill every single year.
Very little, meaning like 10% or less ends up in the actual trash landfill.
That's correct.
Wow.
And when we really put that into perspective, we get over 21 million kilograms donated every single year.
Which is like 50 million pounds.
Yeah, it's a lot. Last year we actually had 23 million kilograms.
Wow.
So it's a lot of stuff.
That's not ending up in a landfill.
That's right.
Wow, awesome.
We get a large amount of donations every single year. So last year we had 911,000 individual donations.
Almost a million.
That's right.
Individual donations. That means like items?
No.
That means like groups of items.
A donation could be a t-shirt. A donation could be a bag of items. A donation could be a U-Haul truck. Well, that's a yearly basis. Right. But you can imagine how much we process on a daily basis.
No, because I know, again, based on just watching so much thrifter and reseller content myself on YouTube, I've seen where, in some of the bins locations, different states, different cities, they rotate once a day. So would that just be a function of how much donations they're getting and the volume of stuff they're trying to manage?
Yeah, it would all vary on, I can't speak to the other Goodwills just because I don't know.
Of course.
But it would vary on the amount of items that they get donated.
So the fact that we get fresh bins every 30 minutes or so just speaks to the sheer volume of goods.
Correct. We've been looking at different ways to sell furniture because honestly, furniture is one of those items that you can't recycle responsibly.
Okay.
A lot of it does end up in landfill.
Right.
It's just unavoidable. We do have a program here at the Impact Center where you do repurpose furniture, and every year we repurpose about 10,000 kilograms.
Is that like upcycling or refinishing?
Basically refinishing programs. We're keeping about 10,000 kilograms out of the landfill. We'll sell a bunch here at the outlet store, but then any broken or discarded furniture that we just can't do anything with, unfortunately that does end up in landfills.
Right. So if you need furniture, go to Goodwill first. And you were saying just off camera how big this facility is. So how many square feet have we got here?
This is 100,000 square feet of what I like to call training for opportunity.
Okay.
Because, you know, while we do provide employment here, we
Yeah.
also want people to maybe start with employment and get that level of employment capabilities that they require so they can have purpose maybe at another job
Like
where
go
they,
find a
where
job
they can
somewhere
make
else.
more money
Okay.
and have greater purpose
So
in
like
their
a lot of
economy.
training, a lot of skills development.
That's right. At the end of the day, our goal is for everyone to have independence and purpose in life. So,
Okay.
you know, we want people to maybe even just start here and then elevate themselves into a better place.
A very noble cause.
Yes.
Okay, so this is all on its way out
This is all on its way out. Some of it is stored for like I
for
said,
holidays.
season.
That's right. I thought we saw a lot of pallets of clothes back there. Check it. Look at this. You said something else. Let's go back to pricing.
Yeah.
So I know myself. I did one video where I was like, "Goodwill, are you kidding me with this price on a purse or something?" Can you explain why the price we've seen prices go up in the thrift store a lot in the last year or two?
Yeah, well, actually, we've actually only had a price increase once
Okay.
officially
Okay.
since I've been with Goodwill, and it was 25 to 50 cents.
Okay.
Like it wasn't significant.
Okay.
Now you may be.
You mean the bins, right?
No.
No. The
no,
store.
the retail stores.
Yeah, okay.
The bins, yes, we've had some price increases here.
Right. But like 10
Yet we're
cents
still
at a time. I
we're
know.
still significantly
I
lower
think
than
did it
everywhere
start
else.
at $1.35?
We started at 99 cents.
99 cents? Oh, I missed those days.
But again, it just wasn't feasible,
Sure,
right?
of
It's
course.
trying to keep the lights on in
And
the
you're
building.
paying a lot of staff and
That's right. In terms of pricing at the retail stores, you may have seen maybe prices on individual items.
Okay.
However, again, that could be a snapshot in time. We could have priced it, made a mistake, repriced it probably 2 or 3 times
Okay.
before it then goes on 50% off.
So
and
is
then
that-
if someone doesn't even want it, then it ends
It'll
up
come
here
here.
for $1.75 per pound.
Right.
So again, that could just be a snapshot
Yeah.
in time. Also, mistakes happen,
Right.
and we own that because of the sheer volume of individual items and unique items that
Right.
come through our retail store.
right. Because I know, again, just we're trying to dispel some rumors or validate what's the truth. I've seen people talking about online that the pricers or the staff or employees who are pricing those items at the store get paid based on how much the item sells for.
No, that's not the case.
Okay.
No.
You heard it here, okay? So, and again, we can't say what happens in every Goodwill all around the world, but absolutely not.
That's right. Especially not in Alberta.
Yeah.
And we also pay our staff, regardless if they have a disability or not. Everybody gets paid more than minimum wage. We're working on trying to get people to a living wage.
Right.
A majority of our staff already have that,
Right.
but we're trying to get every one of our staff
Yeah.
to that. We also have to honor our donors at the same time. So if there is a higher price item that gets, again, a snapshot in time, we also have to remember that we're respecting our donors, because people are donating to Goodwill to give back to our mission. Our mission is to help people with disabilities to find employment, not only within Goodwill, but also with partner organizations. So we provide coaches for employers. We provide life counselors for all of our team members for personal goal setting. And that's a byproduct of everything that gets sold here, because we are self-sustaining.
That's a really interesting perspective that I'm not sure you've thought of, and I know I have never thought of, and that is about not only does Goodwill, want to keep the shoppers happy, but they really need to keep the donors happy too. And I can imagine if I donated something that was quite valuable to Goodwill, and I happened to go into the store and saw it priced for 99 cents, I might feel a little bit miffed that they weren't seeing the real value in that item that I donated. So
Yeah.
that's a really different perspective that I had never considered before.
And we have seen that in the past. To put it into rate perspective, a lot of not-for-profit organizations hover around 68% gets put back into their programs. We hover actually around 90 to 91%.
Okay. Put
there's-
into like the mission, the
Put right back into our
the
mission
purpose.
programs, our purpose
Okay.
of why we exist.
Okay.
We're not for profit. Our margins are razor thin to begin with because
Okay.
we have to put back into our mission
Okay.
programs. We also have to keep the lights up.
Yeah.
We also have to pay wages. So
Right.
we do have to keep
Facilities,
that
rent,
all that into consideration. We don't own any of our facilities.
Right.
We are
Rent.
we
Yeah.
work with landlords.
Yeah,
You know what I
okay.
mean? So
Okay.
there's a lot that goes into it.
This is actually where we upcycle furniture. As I was saying earlier, we upcycle about 10,000 kilograms every single year. Right now, and what we do is we take old broken furniture, and you can actually see the example of the half and half.
Right.
And we transform it into usable furniture for your apartment, house.
Your old, worn out, and then your new, look at new hardware, new trim, new paint.
And that's all done by people with disabilities.
Wow, okay.
We use that program not only for paid employment for people, but also as training opportunities. So we've had some very successful people that have actually volunteered their time because they wanted training opportunities.
Oh, like professionals or very...
Or people with disabilities.
Okay.
This program is all done by people with disabilities.
Right. And then you were saying like people volunteer their time.
So
those would be like actual furniture restorers or...
No, that would actually be people wanting to learn carpentry skills.
Oh, okay.
So we actually train them here
awesome.
at Goodwill. So
Okay.
we'll actually train them, and it could be as simple as they're looking for work experience. They're looking to get into the carpentry trade. They're looking for what is it like to work in a work environment based on hours and not having those skills previously and then getting those skills.
Just like in the work world.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Right now we're working on a program with Green Calgary, and we're taking big giant, you can actually see them, big giant
white
barrels.
Okay.
They were storing like Coca-Cola, Pepsi. They're being transformed and used as rain barrels.
I was gonna say, in Calgary, not this summer, you've heard me whine about it, we've had a lot of rain, but normally, very dry, rain barrels are really important here.
That's right. So we're actually doing this for Green Calgary, and Green Calgary is then providing these to the public for rain barrels.
Very good.
Yeah. So just different ways to utilize the program. This team also, you can actually see the pallets here. We actually fix broken pallets so they don't enter landfills. We work with not only our organization to do so, but with partner organizations to do so as well. And we do that all in-house.
Okay, here's a tough question, just kidding.
Sure.
I know sometimes I roll my eyes and other resellers are like, why does Goodwill always put the price tag right over the brand name or the maker's mark or something like that? Is there a reason for that, or is that just a coincidence?
More of a coincidence than
Okay.
anything else. We don't have time to go through every single item. That could just be more of a coincidence.
Just
than
quick
anything
put
else.
it in the middle, because I know for
That's
me,
right.
like, you can always see who the resellers are because we're peeling it back to see if we can see the brand name on the item, right? And you know the resellers have been looking at it. Lately, we've seen Goodwill's using like a Sharpie or a permanent marker to write pricing directly on the item itself. Can you explain why? Because we're all like, why is that happening?
Honestly, some of it has to do with theft.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. We've had people take advantage of our organization.
Like ripping the price tag off and then...
changing price tags,
Okay.
you name it. So,
and just stealing.
unfortunately, and it's stealing from our mission. And our mission is to support people with disabilities. That's our goal. That's why we exist. So that's one of the reasons why we do it. We do understand that there are some mistakes being made, sometimes, where they're writing it on maybe an item where they shouldn't actually write it on a specific item.
Or not in that spot.
Those
or
are
something like
those
that.
are things that mistakes happen. We own it. However, when we catch it, we rectify it.
Okay. And I know, again, I'm just anticipating some of the comments or what people are thinking. They're going to say, well, Goodwill gets everything for free, donated. So what if a little bit gets stolen? Maybe just reiterate why that matters.
Well, again, our organization is based on the donations that come in. If something, so a lot of production, a lot of mission programs, a lot of our job coaching programs, they all rely on the amount that gets donated in, right?
The money that you make from selling those items.
That's right. We also have to keep our lights on. All those things cost money. Unfortunately, that's just the case.
So
we
even-
have to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, especially by our mission, to support those people who want independence, who want purpose in life, to make sure that we're doing due justice.
So I'm going to paraphrase and say, if a person is stealing something or switching out a price tag to pay less for something at a Goodwill store, you are taking money away from the mission. You're not just pocketing something that was free anyway. You're taking money away from the mission of Goodwill.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
I spoke about honoring our donors.
Yeah.
We also have to make sure it's reasonable for our shoppers
Right.
too as well.
Right.
Again,
People have to buy stuff or else there is no money coming in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Again, we own mistakes that happen,
Right.
and mistakes happen in any job, any position,
company.
even those $1 million athletes are making constant mistakes,
Right,
right?
right.
So, we know that there's mistakes that happen, but we'll do our best to rectify those as we go through.
For sure. How does Goodwill feel about resellers who buy something for a low price at Goodwill and then turn around and flip it online for profit on eBay or something like that?
Well, we can't control what the public does.
Right.
After it leaves our store, I can't be the judge, jury, and executioner saying, no,
Right.
you can't do that.
Right.
We live in a capitalist economy. We live in a free economy. You're free to do as you wish. So, of course, we have no problem with that. But at the same time, you're also supporting our organization and our mission.
Right.
So if we have something priced a certain item and it's cheaper, have at it. That's super important. That's what thrifting is all about. So, super important on our end. Again, we know you have your communities to support, and we totally understand that.
Right. Because I know, again, there's a lot of, negative comments about resellers, not necessarily from Goodwill, and you heard it here. So part of that comes from as well the sentiment that resellers or people who are just thrifting for opportunity are taking things away from those who may truly need them. I think we're probably showing another side of that here today, just with the sheer volume of goods that are not being sold in the store, in the bins, and are ending up having to go through all of these different recycling and other types of programs so they don't end up in a landfill. So again, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind, just share a full perspective on the issue. Well, everybody saw outside when I was doing the intro, just the sheer length of this building, and so you're seeing it now from the inside.
This is where we actually do a lot of our upcycling initiatives.
Okay.
And this department, just like our repair for good area, is all operated by people with self-employed.
Okay. So on the topic of wages, one of those rumors that's all over the internet and social media is that the Goodwill CEOs are making millions of dollars. So how do you want to respond to that?
We've also seen rumors that a man that doesn't exist, that owns Goodwill, lives in California.
Okay.
Just not the case.
Right.
Every Goodwill has their own president and CEO.
Right.
That's super important. We have 1,100 employees. However,
Wow. In Alberta.
In Alberta.
So again, for reference, Alberta is like 5 million people. How many stores?
We have 14 retail locations.
And
12 retail locations
Right,
and two outlet
Okay,
stores.
so again, for all of you all around the world and all around the U.S., think about the size of your state or your city. How many employees?
We have 1,100.
1,100 employees.
Yeah. And
So you need some sort of a leadership team
You
to
need-
manage that operation.
you
right?
do.
Yeah.
And our president and CEO, he lives in Stony Plain. He lives in Alberta. He lives on an acreage.
Okay.
I can assure you, he does not make millions of dollars.
Okay. You
It's
heard
just
it
it's just
here.
not the case.
Right.
If he was, he'd be driving
Yeah.
around in a Rolls Royce, and
Yeah.
again, he's a farm guy.
And again, we're not saying that everything you're reading on the internet isn't true somewhere in the world or that some scandal didn't happen somewhere, but y'all need to be real and not believe all the trash that you read online, okay? We got the real goods here, giving you the real answers.
So in this area here, you can actually see some of the towels that are in the bins. You can actually see some of the denim product. The denim product will actually be cut and sorted
into strips.
into strips. These strips then get transformed into something absolutely magnificent.
Okay.
The same thing happens to the towels,
towels,
as
okay.
well.
Instead of, again, just being tossed out.
So they're actually washing some of the items here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This is what happens to your denim product that gets donated to Goodwill.
Very
so
nice.
this is the chef apron,
Cool.
perfect for tailgating. And then we also create these shopping bags
Oh, totes.
as well.
Yeah.
So they're totes. So we actually use everything from liners to the full denim pockets. And you name it. So this is a new program that started back in March for the denim product. We also create cleaning cloths out of this area as well.
Okay.
So we take t-shirts and towels
Yeah.
and we create clean cloth products. So
So
this,
cut them up into uniform sizes.
that's right. So we actually sell these items at, not only at our Goodwill store, the clean cloth products also get sold at Hughes Car Wash.
Oh,
We also cut them into rag forms. So t-shirts, for example, we
Yeah.
cut them into actual rags,
Okay.
and we work with mechanical shops, and we do work with Canadian Tire as well to sell those bulk rags that you
right.
buy at the
Oh,
stores.
probably
and again,
for their automotive.
that's right.
Okay.
And then that keeps the items out of the landfill.
Right.
The t-shirts and towels, we keep out about 14,000 kilograms every single year.
It's like 30-some thousand pounds.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Wow.
We're still waiting on the numbers.
That's like a heap. I'm picturing a landfill without 35,000 pounds of towel.
So we're still waiting on the numbers of the denim.
Okay.
In the past, some repurpose and recyclers use them for insulation for housing.
Okay.
Just not the case so much anymore.
Right.
So we're just trying to find the numbers because this is a new initiative. We just don't have the numbers for it yet as to how much is actually being diverted.
There's never
going
going to be a shortage of jeans in the thrift because, you know, skinny was in, now it's out, wide is in, and that's, you know, give it a year, we're going to be back to straight legs or something, right? So there's always going to be jeans coming in.
Yeah, and honestly, the biggest thing with this program is, yes, it's keeping things out of the landfill, but it's also providing employment opportunities. So between Edmonton and Calgary, we have over 50 people in this department alone.
Wow.
That now have an employment opportunity.
Very good. I have bought towels here for my own cleaning purposes, but I can't afford to buy that many. So we're here at the Goodwill bins before it even opens, and look at these eager beavers. They're here too right before it opens. So tell my viewers your names.
I'm Red Bruce.
I'm Jace Bruce.
And tell me the coolest stuff you guys find. Do you shop for yourselves?
Yes, we do. We shop for ourselves. We look for like baggy pants like Dickies and Carhartt, Nike shoes. Sometimes we find money here.
In the wallets?
Yeah, in the wallets.
That's the classic, right? As
Yeah.
soon as the purse bin comes out, everybody's digging in the wallets. How much money have you found?
The most I've ever found was $200.
What?
Which was big amount.
And you? Did you find money?
No.
Not yet. Okay.
No.
Your day's gonna come, my man.
Yeah, but we just look for the expensive stuff.
Yeah. Cool. How often do you come?
Like 2 times a week.
Very nice.
Yeah, big collectors.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thanks.
Yeah,
Say
no
hi to my
problem.
viewers.
Hey guys.
Here's my friend who I see all the time at the bins. Tell my viewers your name.
Hello, my name is Olga. I am team lead here. I work here 2 years.
2 years? And what's your favorite part about working here?
Oh, I work everywhere, but I have a very nice team.
Very nice team. And I will agree with that. The employees here are fantastic. And I always get a smile when I come to shop, don't I?
Yes, very friendly team and very nice boss.
Thank you. All right. I've been to bins locations in 5 different states, plus my home one here. This one is the best. Not just because of the inventory, but it's very well run. So are there anything that you're doing, is there anything you're doing here to make it a real orderly, well-run experience for both shoppers and for the employees as well?
Well, honestly, in terms of the bin system and what we have in terms of the repurposing and recycling initiatives for the environment here, the sustainability initiatives, actually other Goodwills are actually looking to us to incorporate it all. Some Goodwills only have the bin system. They may not have the full recycling stream in the back end. So they're actually coming to us for advice. Montreal, for example, they came to us and said, hey, we want to introduce this full concept that you have in Alberta and we want to bring it to Montreal. So they're actually introducing an impact center and they're calling it the impact center in Montreal.
Right.
Again, other Goodwills are actually looking to Alberta to see what we're doing here. So it part of it being well run is because we've been afforded the opportunity to work on that back end of things.
Right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And when I call it the bins, that's just the nickname for it. It's really called the outlet center, right?
Yeah, we call it the amazing impact center, but the part of it is the outlet store, which a lot of people refer to as the Goodwill bins, of course.
Right. Sort of a fun off-topic question. Have you ever heard any stories, since you've worked here for a number of years, about people finding like incredible things in the stores or even in the bins?
Well, I've personally found incredible items.
Have you?
So I found we have located narwhal tusks, like an official narwhal tusk, which we donated to the University of Calgary, to their Arctic Museum. We've had a sealskin jacket that was made up in way northwest
Arctic
territories.
Or something,
We've had everything from, now you're making me jog my memory a little bit. What's something? Dinosaur fossils, just actually 2 years ago. Donated, and we redonated it to the Tyrrell Museum in Drumheller.
So somehow in the process of that being donated, these things are like identified as being something unusual or special, and then you're kind of not just throwing them away or
Yeah, especially for those important items, right? We'll actually find
cultural or historically significant.
A, there's some things we can't make money off of. B, there's some things that are too important to make money off of that should be for the general public, right?
Right.
So that's why we try to put it into the right place, into the right hands. We've had war medallions donated, and we've actually tracked down the families and given it back to the families.
Because they're sentimental.
And these are war medallions from like World War II and World War One.
Okay.
So like, there's different things that come
everything,
through.
But
yeah. So there's different things that come through. Of course, our shoppers, they'll find, sometimes an authentic like Louis Vuitton, right? And they'll find it for like $5.
Right. Yeah.
I love seeing stories like that. Like that's actually, for me, that's the thrill of the hunt. That's
why
where
you all
thrifting
watch
comes.
on YouTube, is because you like the hunt as much as we do.
Yeah, so that's part of it.
So does Goodwill have any challenges attracting employees? Like, it depends on the labor market, I guess, but...
Yeah, it obviously always depends on the labor market. I would like to say that we're a great place to work. I always say that from a personal experience. I personally wouldn't be here for 7 years if I didn't like the culture of the organization and what we stood for. So like, there's a lot that kind of goes into that, and that's just from a personal experience. And I share that with absolutely everybody. Just a great place to work because of what we do, not only for the mission side of things, but how the organization actually treats all of our employees.
Right. Do you have a lot of turnover? Like, typically retail has a very high turnover of employees, meaning, employees start, they quit. You're always having to hire new employees to replace them.
Yeah, and that'd be the case with any retail organization, whether you're a thrift, not-for-profit, or for-profit organizations. Of course we have trouble with turnover. We actually have less turnover in this past year than we've ever had in the history of Goodwill. That speaks a lot to our culture and organization. I think our turnover rate was around 15 to 20%.
Wow, and I know...
Which general retail hovers around 50%.
I was going to say, I worked in HR consulting, and I can verify that fact, that in typical retail, mall stores, etc., it's 40-50%.
Now, we used to be at the 50% mark, but we've done a lot of things, not only for our employees, to make sure that they want to be here. So that's why we actually dropped significantly. A lot of it has to do with our human resources or people and culture team, who have put a lot of effort to make sure that happens.
And this next question is going to be a sensitive one that I know a lot of viewers would care a lot about. And that is, there are rumors out, again, on the internet, of course, that Goodwill does not fairly pay, especially employees with disabilities. And you've talked a lot today about how many employees you have with self-disclosed disabilities. So what do you want to set the record straight on that?
Yeah, I actually have no problem answering that, because there's laws in Alberta that says we have to do certain things, which is super important, but we actually go above and beyond. So actually everybody who works at Goodwill gets paid above minimum wage. One thing we are looking at is looking for a living wage for everybody. When I say everybody, absolutely everybody.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter if you have a disability
rumors.
or not.
There's not people working here for free, or like exploiting workers or anything like that going on.
That's correct. Some of the workers you may have seen may just work part-time, which again, every business has that. Some of them work full-time. Again, every business has that. I can't speak for every Goodwill because I don't know the laws around their states, but I do know that we go above and beyond here in Alberta.
Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, because when we chatted previous to today, you actually won an award, Goodwill Alberta, right? For corporate culture, is that right?
Yes, we just recently won an award for corporate culture from the Waterstone Group, based on last year, which is
like a national...
great. And that was a national award.
Right.
We're excited about that award, but we're also excited about a number of other awards in our sustainability initiatives. We've won a Clean 50 award, which again is a national award for sustainability initiatives. We've won.
And is that all for the recycling?
That's all for the recycling.
Okay.
We've won Recycling Council of Alberta awards. We've won Emerald Foundation awards, which again is based in Alberta and based on our recycling initiatives. We've won awards from the city of Calgary and the city of Edmonton for our Repair for Good area, where we upcycle furniture. The list goes on, and it's great to be recognized, but it also pushes us further to expand our initiatives and to provide more opportunities for people that need it most.
Right. Right. So again, we're not saying by any means that every Goodwill in the world is exactly like this, but I wanted you to hear the other side of the story from all the trash talking that you all read and hear on social media, that there's an amazing good side. And I would say, that my own personal opinion, that here in Alberta, we have one of the top tier Goodwill organizations in the world. Tell me in the comments if you agree. So we were just talking off camera for a minute about garbage, and what were you telling me about there's not a lot of garbage bins?
Yeah, so we actually don't have any big giant garbage bins, you know, those big ones that you see?
Yeah.
We actually don't have any of them at our retail stores. There's only one in Calgary. It's actually at this facility here.
Okay.
And there's only one in Edmonton, at the Edmonton facility.
So making sure that, you know, just for convenience or time, people aren't just tossing stuff in the garbage.
That's right. And not only that is we also have a person that actually sorts through the garbage to make sure what goes in the garbage goes in the garbage. We call them a garbologist.
Garbologist. There's a job you didn't know existed.
Yeah, so
Cool.
that's their sole
Okay.
responsibility. There's actually no bin here today, which
Okay.
is great. That means it's out for service.
Okay.
That means there's not a lot going into
Okay.
any garbage container, which
Wow.
is absolutely fantastic.
For sure. Well, I don't know about you, but I am amazed at what goes on here. Both the sheer volume of everything, but even just these important initiatives for the sustainability of our planet. So I just want to thank you, Doug, for your time today, for sharing all the information, for being transparent and answering some of those tough questions. Thought we would end the video here today, just in front of one of the things I think is the most amazing. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and leave comments below about how awesome this facility is, and stay tuned for some more thrifting adventures. I have one word for you all. Wow.